Oh, what's this? Oh, Victoria Martinez shared something on my timeline. Shit, she never does that. I wonder what this could be. Let's see, what does this say? Andrew Lincoln set to leave. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no! You fucking idiots!
X gon' give it to you.
Stop the intro for a second. What the fuck is going on? Like, I'm actually in shock at what the fuck just happened. I'm just sitting here, I'm actually working on a Star Wars video, because as some of you may or may not know, I absolutely despise Star Wars The Last Jedi, Kathleen Kennedy, and everything these movies and producers stand for in the current industry regarding Disney owning Star Wars. And I was working on a video describing how to fix Star Wars The Last Jedi, the worst movie I have ever seen since the Emoji Movie. Well, I'm in the middle of working on that, I'm just kind of getting some ideas flowing, and then I get a message from my phone in that wonderful reenactment I did at the beginning. Victoria Martinez shared something on my timeline. I went to go check to see what it was, and then sure enough, Andrew Lincoln is confirmed to be leaving AMC's The Walking Dead in Season 9. Now, I've heard some articles have been posting it as rumors, but unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this is an actual confirmation, as there have actually been numbers given out in these articles, which normally doesn't happen. And there's been talks about the contracts, and it's not just been one of those backwater articles. Like, this has been going on most of the main articles and YouTubers and Twitter feeds and all that shit that normally covers actual The Walking Dead news, not just rumors. So I just want to cover this real quick. So this article I'm reading from is the one that's been getting the most attention, I think. It's Collider.com. They do a lot of stuff on The Walking Dead, and they usually don't give misinformation. So they're saying, we're hearing that by the end of Season 9 of AMC's hit drama series, The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes himself will be walking away. That's right, The Walking Dead enthusiast Andrew Lincoln will be growling his way through the post-apocalyptic setting for just one more season before calling it quits. I don't know why they sound so happy about this. And while we won't be spoiling just how the series' founding character makes his exit, we do know that fans can only expect to see Lincoln in half a dozen episodes of the upcoming season.
Half a dozen episodes of the upcoming season. Half a dozen episodes of the upcoming season.
Seriously? Not even the full season. I've heard multiple sites have been confirming this, and get this, apparently it's not just Andrew Lincoln. Lauren Cohan, this has been known to me before this article, but it's just getting reconfirmed, and I might as well mention it. Lauren Cohan is also talking about leaving the show for a better contract. And then apparently there's a possibility that, what's her name? I can't find it. I'm trying to see if I can find it on here. The actor from Michonne, Denai, what's her name? She's possibly leaving as well. Now that one's not confirmed, but there's a possibility. I can't believe it. Let me see. What else does it say? Oh, this is the part that we're going to mention a lot as well. To fill the void in the show's leading man status, we're also hearing that AMC has offered substantial compensation to long-running series star Norman Reedus to not only stay on board, but to take over the show's leading role. Yeah, there's another article right here, this one I'm looking at right now. It says the show will reset with Reedus' Daryl Dixon even more in the spotlight. This article, too, says AMC is reportedly preparing to offer Lincoln's co-star Norman Reedus, Daryl, substantial compensation to stay with the show and assume the lead role. I remember seeing on one of these articles, they said something about him getting, like, that Norman Reedus would be getting a new contract of $20,000 to stay on the show. But, yeah, Andrew Lincoln's leaving. What the fuck? Okay. I get it. I was reading, the article says that he's leaving because he needs to spend more time with family and because his contract is fulfilled and he's leaving the show. Basically is all that it's saying. And other articles have been confirming this too. He's leaving, he's done, he wants to go spend time with family, he's not working on the show anymore. Or working with the show anymore, I'm sorry. But here's the kicker. Each one of these articles has mentioned that AMC not only is offering no comments on this subject, meaning they recognize that this is an article to be talked about, but they're also not talking about people who are asking, well, is the show going to end? One of those articles mentioned, hey, the AMC confirmed that the show's not going to end, and when we pressed them about it, they left no comment. So, from what I'm gathering of this information, what it looks like they're doing is they're going to kick Andrew Lincoln off the set. Like, Andrew Lincoln's just going to be gone. They're going to continue the show, and they're going to put Daryl Dixon as the main character of the show, the new lead. It's not going to be Rick's story anymore. It's going to be it's going to be Daryl's story from now on. What? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm showing season 1 footage right now as I'm rolling this. This show, the very first scene we start out with is about Andrew Lincoln. This show has always been sponsored as Andrew Lincoln's Show. Have you seen all the advertising campaigns? Have you noticed how every single one of them has Andrew Lincoln on the front cover? And I mean every single one of them. The only differences are season 7 and season 8 advertising campaigns, which show off a little bit more of Negan and Lucille. But even then, 95% of the advertising and marketing for The Walking Dead has Andrew Lincoln's face on it somewhere. It's not Carl's show anymore because he's dead. It's not Maggie's show. It's not Daryl's show. It's not Negan's Easy Street show. It's fucking Rick Grimes' show. For all intents and purposes. The Walking Dead show sets itself up differently than the comics. The comics sets itself up to where, yes, we are introduced to the comic series world via Rick Grimes. That's true. And the series does start off with substantial focus on Rick Grimes for quite a while. But what the Walking Dead comics does differently is, and this is where the show physically cannot do this anymore, is it keeps itself interactive and unique through Carl Grimes. Carl was Rick's son. Rick was becoming an older man. Carl was turning into a fine young man. This was a natural progression for the comics. The comics is, to my knowledge, I've not read past pretty much the point where Rick meets the leader of the Whisperers. That's as far as I've gotten. But to my knowledge and understanding, Rick Grimes, while yes, he's still a part of the comics, he's not the main, 95% of the spotlight focus. I've read some part of that comics, and Carl seems to be getting a lot more of the spotlight in the comics, and is actually getting some really fucking badass scenes. Really badass scenes. So, the comics is taking a slow, but very well-paced progression to focusing less on Rick and more on Carl, because Robert Kirkman has said that Rick Grimes very well could die in the comics. So, what that means is eventually, Carl Grimes could become the main star of the comics. Now, my information may be a little bit outdated, so if Rick died just last week in an issue or something, well, I don't know about it. I hope not. But Carl Grimes is looking to become at least the main character, if at the bare minimum, one of the main characters of the comics. And they're doing it in a way that makes sense. Robert Kirkman and whoever else helps him write the comics is doing it in a way that makes sense. Carl Grimes would be the next logical person to become a leader and a main character. He's the son of Rick Grimes, the main character of the show, the comic series. He's also young. He's also very young, so, he has plenty of room to grow up, literally, and metaphorically. He can grow up as a person. He can literally fucking grow up to be older. And he's been through so fucking much, just about as much as Rick has, where his character, he can become a strong-willed individual, and he would be an interesting and perfect character for us to dive our teeth into and read about. Why'd I say dive our teeth? That makes no sense. Ignore what I just said. But you get the point. Rick Grimes, while he may be the main character of the comics, and the show more so, in the comics, they seem to be passing off the Rick Grimes mantle of leadership and responsibility to Carl Grimes. So it makes sense. But hey, you know what problem the show has with that? Let me think. Oh yeah, Carl is fucking dead. You dumb shits, you fucked it up.
You done fucked it up!
What the fuck happened? Why did they do that? It's like the writing went downhill to shit after season 6. Like, the season 6 finale was ended on a cliffhanger, but other than that, the rest of season 6 was phenomenal, and it's right up there as my number one favorite, with season 5 being my other favorite. They're both kind of in first place. I can't really choose. But it's because they had such good writing. But then they killed Carl Grimes off, so now all we're left with is Andrew Lincoln, Rick Grimes. I was like, well, at least it seemed in the second half of season 8 they were actually trying some interesting and unique storytelling. Some of it I actually question, but still, at least they were finding new and interesting things to do that weren't entirely bad. I might disagree with it to a degree, but it was not bad writing in the second half of season 8, in my opinion. However, now we're hearing for season 9, Rick Grimes, not only is he leaving, he's not even going to be there for the full season. He's going to be there for like maybe a dozen episodes. Half a dozen, actually. Not even a dozen. Half a dozen fucking episodes. So is Lauren Cohan. We'll worry about those other actors at a different time. But Rick Grimes, the man, is only going to be there for about half a dozen episodes. And then he's gone. That's not rumor. That's confirmed by the contracts that he'll be there for half a dozen episodes. Like, the show is his show. You can't just pass it on to Daryl Dixon. I don't give that much of a shit about Daryl Dixon anymore. Most people don't. His storyline went as soon as about season 6 hit. Season 1 through 5, he had phenomenal storytelling. He had a real good focus on his character. He was one of the main characters up there with Rick and Michonne and Maggie and Carl, some of the mains. He was one of them. But then because of his Ride with Norman Reedus show, by season 6, he kind of got pushed to the side a little bit. But at least in season 6, they still had him do some pretty useful stuff. Like, he was our introduction to the Saviors. You know, they didn't just kind of pop out of the blue like they did in the comics. Like, we got a unique foreshadowing, an entire episode that was actually pretty cool to introduce us to Dwight, to introduce us to how ruthless the Saviors can be. And then we saw, you know, Daryl was kind of the intro to the conflict between the Saviors, because those guys ambushed Daryl, Abraham, and Sasha on the road, and then Daryl blew them to bits. You know, Rick was like, oh, hell no, we're not going to take any of that shit. So at least Daryl in season 6 had some uniqueness to him and introduced us to the Savior's story arc. Despite him not being in there much, he did still have good plot points. So if they had reintroduced him more in season 7 and season 8, I think most people would have been okay with how he was only there for small portions in season 6. But then season 7, they did the same thing. They introduced him in small portions. We got him in the season finale. The season premiere. We got him in episode 3. And then we had him pop up a little bit more in the second half. But then that was about it. Then guess what? In season 8, they started introducing him a little bit more, making it look like they were going to use him more often. But then they, by about episode 6, they just barely started showing him again. Then we got one extra episode with him in it, and then that was it. So it was only a slight upgrade from how much we were seeing Daryl in season 6 and 7, but it still wasn't up to him being shown more consistently. And they haven't done anything with his story in season 7 and season 8. Like, in season 8, he's just a cold-blooded killer. In season 7, he was just a cold-blooded killer. But they didn't give any unique dynamics to it like they did with Rick in season 8's second half. How he was becoming a cold-hearted, lying killer, and he was having this struggle between being merciful and being vengeful. At least, even though he was a cold-blooded killer, they gave a unique story arc.
You said I lied.
If you're gonna pass on the mantle of Rick fucking Grimes, this monumental titan-like character, this godlike figure in the Walking Dead universe, if you're gonna pass the mantle of that big of a character to somebody, you gotta pass it on to somebody who's got a unique story to him. Now, I have no doubt Angela King will pull off some wonderful work with Daryl Dixon. She's written some of the best episodes in the series. But still, King, come on, girl. You got nothing left to work with Daryl. He's got nothing left. If you kept Rick, you know what you could do? You could go on with the Rick and Daryl brotherly love. You could start rebuilding that. That's how you could show Daryl's storyline out more, and maybe flesh it out a bit more, and then maybe introduce something from that. But Daryl himself, to me, feels like a rundown character. What are you going to work with that? Seriously, Daryl's got nothing left. With Daryl, I can think of maybe a couple things they could do, but they wouldn't be anything major or impactful, certainly not enough to convince the viewership that Daryl is good to become the main character after Rick Grimes, the main show lead, is gone. There's nothing you can do for that. Except maybe pass it on to Carl Grimes, his son, because that would make sense. But he's dead. So, what are we going to do? Daryl Dixon cannot become the lead. Like, I love Norman Reedus, and I still really do like Daryl Dixon's character. But it's more so I like him because he used to be cool. Not that I like him because he's currently cool. Norman Reedus still puts on a stellar performance. This is not a personal thing against Norman, but without Rick Grimes leading the show, what the fuck is going to become of it? Like, the show's still continuing, and if it's going to have Daryl Dixon as the lead, I don't understand what's going to happen. I don't see anything good coming from it. Maybe Angela King will pull off something, but I don't know. I just don't know. The other part of this that is troubling me, and this is more relatable to the channel, will I still do tributes for The Walking Dead with Rick Grimes gone? I think it's no secret. Everyone can see with how much Rick Grimes focused content I have on my channel that Rick Grimes is my favorite character. No questions asked. He is my favorite. He's my number one. He's sexy as hell. He's a handsome man. He's gone through so much in the storyline of The Walking Dead. He's lost it all. He's a broken, battered man, and yet he's risen up to the occasion and fought so many battles. He's just the cumulative definition of a fucking badass. Of course I like him. He's my favorite. I don't care if it makes me sound like a generic wannabe noob because I like the main character the most, but guess what? He's a really good, fucking main character. I meant to say he's a really well-written character, but that came out wrong. He's a really well-written main character, and he's a fucking badass. But without him, don't get me wrong, I don't mind Daryl Dixon, but he's just not Rick Grimes. And even if, let's say, Daryl Dixon's quality had been kept up since Season 5, like he had a good story arc in Season 6, and Season 7, and Season 8, like Daryl Dixon's storyline is just badass, and people will still, in the masses, going, if Daryl dies, we riot. Okay, you're still killing off Rick Grimes, the main character, and my favorite. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing tributes to the show. I mean, I'd like to think I would, but if Rick Grimes leaves, I don't know. Like, so many of my tributes are centered around Rick Grimes. Some of my best tributes have been about Rick Grimes. Some of my most popular ones have been about Rick Grimes. Some of my videos, while they may not be directly called a Rick Grimes tribute, some of them have been centered around Rick Grimes the most. Like, for example, one that I'm extremely proud of, the Walking Dead Season 9 Civil War unofficial trailer that I made. That had most of its focus on Rick Grimes because I portrayed it as a Rick versus Maggie thing. And of course, that's not what's going to happen in Season 9, but that's how I made it, and Rick was a big focus of that. I love Rick's character. I think he's one of the most unique characters that I've ever seen in any form of media. I truly believe that. I don't watch a lot of TV, though, so that's just in saying media in general, including movies and games and stuff. My small amount of media that I have watched, I love Rick Grimes to death. He's amazing to me. Without him being in the show, I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to become bored. I've already gotten to the point where if it wasn't for the second half of Season 8 being so damn good and so Rick Grimes heavy, I was going to stop editing for The Walking Dead, or at least lower it significantly. Because the first half of Season 8 was just so fucking boring. Like, there were a couple episodes actually, that were good, but the rest of them were shit. And then the second half of Season 8, it had better quality. It had much better quality, much better writing. I saw Angela King was trying to switch some of Scott Gimple's decisions up as much as she could. So the second half of Season 8 was actually not half bad, and it brought me back from the I don't want to edit for The Walking Dead anymore point. I wanted to edit again. I've been editing for The Walking Dead, but if Season 9 gets rid of Rick Grimes, he's the main focus of the show. He's the character I'm in love with on that show. I'm not in a weird way, I just mean he's my favorite character. And if they get rid of him, I'm gonna probably lose interest. The only way they could have maybe kept it is if they had Carl Grimes, but he's dead. Michonne's possibly leaving. I don't really care for Michonne. I don't like her too much. That's whatever. They're getting rid of fucking Maggie too, possibly. She's talking about leaving. You're getting rid of my favorite male character and my favorite female character and my top 2 favorite characters. My top 2 favorite characters on the show. I guess my third would be Daryl, but fuck. Actually, no, he wouldn't be. Dwight is my third favorite character, come to think of it. But they're getting rid of Rick and Maggie. What the fuck am I gonna do? I just wanted to rant about that for a little bit. I hope this just turns out for, like, Andrew Lincoln to go, hey, it was all a prank. I got you good. Woo! And I will laugh my ass off and call him the meme god.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
I lied.
A gangster ass nigga plays his cards right. A real gangster ass nigga never runs his fucking mouth, cause real gangster ass niggas don't.
Like, I will be like, holy shit, Andrew, you got the world good. Fucking good job for you, man. You pranked us hard. Like, Filthy Frank would be proud. But this is true. I'm like 98% sure this is true, and I'm probably not gonna edit for The Walking Dead anymore if it happens that way. That actually almost hurts to say, but like, you're getting rid of Andrew Lincoln, and the only other character I might keep interest in, 2 characters. I'm sorry, Maggie Rhee and Daryl Dixon are both having a major effect on him. Maggie Rhee might be leaving, just like Rick Grimes is leaving, and Daryl Dixon is, like, in my opinion, stripped dry of any good storytelling. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, but we'll have to wait and see. And this is the Warleader, signing out. Have a good one.